everything comes down to cycles. All markets have seasons and cycles. There are three definitive cycles we need to look at. There's the short-term debt cycle. We've all lived through that. 2008, well, you can go back to the dot-com, then 2008. You can see those cycles. They're anywhere between 5 and 8 years. This one clearly is pushed, but we can get into why, and you guys can all see that. Then there's the big one, and this is the most important one that you have to look at. It's the long-term debt cycle. The long-term debt cycle is 75 to 100 years. The only starting place you can start from for the long-term debt cycle is 1933. We can push it to 1930 to make it simple, right? At the start of the Great Depression. Why? Because this is when everything changed. It's when the Fed all of a sudden started printing money. It's when everything mimicked and looked just like it does today. Not trying to scare you, but this is what that looked like. And so if we go fast forward from 1930 or 33 or wherever you're measuring, we arrive at about, depending on how you're counting, 80 to 88 years, okay? If the cycle is 75 years and we're 88 years in, where are we going? Well, it's not even where we're going, it's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
But people just don't see the signs. The other cycle that you'd have to look at would be the capital markets cycle. And that has come and gone, and we are there. Every single sign that you see out there, if you're in Wall Street, if you're an analyst, if you're an economist, you all see the same thing. I see the same thing. We are at the end of the cycle. The government
So what is it that you're seeing that you said you're seeing the same thing?
Everybody is seeing that the weaknesses right now we're already in this, okay? And I think, here's my opinion, and I can't tell you when this is going to happen because I don't have a crystal ball. Matter of fact, mine broke. I put it in the shop, and they can't fix it. But anyway, nobody can time the market. I don't care how good they think they are. No economist can tell you when the market's going to go down. I think we are in for the next Great Depression. Now, that's drastic, but all the signs point to one place. All the economists point to one place. All the Wall Street guys know that this is going to be a big crash. The first leg of this crash, everybody thinks that it just happened. That was nothing. That was like in California, a murmur, like, honey, did you feel that? Yeah, I think we felt something. The first one that's going to go down, which is the first dip, will, by the numbers, by the levels, be 50+%. Mark my words. You guys might not believe me, but just watch, because I'll be right. 50+%. And then from there, all the stop losses will trigger. Every single automated feature in Wall Street will trigger, and it will perpetuate the fall. Then the government will have to make a decision. So do you want to know why I know where we're at? The Fed minutes just came out. Most people probably don't even know what this is and what that means. But they came out and they said two specific things, if you read carefully. Number one, where are interest rates going?
Up.
Up. How many times?
I mean, I think they're just going to have to keep going up.
Right. They said 3, 4, 5. They didn't even really give a number, but it's going to be more than what Wall Street was expecting. That was one of the reasons the market fell. But everybody's like, yeah, but interest rates have to go up. The market's overheating. Look at inflation. We're almost at hyperinflation, or we are, whatever way you want to look at it. So inflation's going up. The Fed has to raise interest rates to curb this inflation. True statement. But also, why else? What's the hidden reason why the Fed's raising interest rates?
Couldn't tell you.
Let's go back a year and a half ago when we did that last podcast. What just happened then? COVID. And when COVID hit, what happened to the markets?
Well, it was supposed to go down.
It did, though. The first leg was 34%.
Yeah, but it was a very short blip.
Very short.
It was a very short blip, and then they opened the printing presses.
What else did they do? There was a lever they pulled.
I mean, there was all the stimulus money.
Well, before stimulus, the first lever they pulled was what? Interest rates. Remember? They went from wherever they were at interest rates down to close to zero.
Yeah.
That was the first lever. Then they printed money. So that is monetary easing. So, not to get boring, but the first thing they'll always do is pull interest rates. That stimulates the economy. It makes money cheap. It makes money cheap for institutions. It makes money cheap for you and I to buy cars, refinance houses, everything we do. Then they just printed a silly amount of money, infused it all in, and when the Fed prints money, the Fed is not the government. Fed is a private institution owned by the largest bankers in the world, some of which I've already mentioned. So the Fed prints money. The Fed can't give you money. The Fed can't give our businesses money. The Fed can only put money into the capital markets, Wall Street. And how they do that is they exchange the printed money that was printed out of thin air. They exchange that for paper debt called treasuries. And they exchange it with the U.S. government. The U.S. government then gets trillions of dollars. The Fed gets trillions of dollars worth of bonds. IOUs. The government, U.S. government, owes the Fed all this money. But then the Fed infuses that money into the markets. And you've heard about this, the bond buying programs, right? Well, the Fed now realizes they got inflation. So this is the perfect way that they can start pushing the interest rate lever up. But the thing no one will tell you, and the one thing I haven't seen once on the news, I see it in YouTube and places, the hidden reason the Fed is raising interest rates pretty aggressively is not just to curb inflation. Fed loves inflation. Inflation, and the government loves inflation because it makes their dollars less. Does everybody understand inflation, you think?
I mean, we can take a second to talk about it.
1 second. Inflation. Everybody thinks that things at the grocery store just get more expensive. No, your dollars just got weaker. There, that's inflation. It's a hidden tax. It is not groceries and gas gets more expensive. Your dollars just buy less because they're weakened because they printed a whole lot more.
Those things cost the same. Our dollars are just no longer as effective.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. A lot of people just think inflation, oh, everything got more expensive. It got more expensive because your dollars can't buy what they used to a year ago or 2 years ago.
Right.
I just want to get that out of the... So they're raising interest rates because they know what's coming. And the first line of defense, if you were in battle, we'll call it the government and the Fed, the first line of defense is the interest rate lever. Well, we're sitting close to zero. Where are they going to pull it if the whole market lets loose? They don't have any ammunition in the gun. They got to get that interest rate up so that when this event happens, they have something to stimulate the markets again. That's the first thing.
Yep.
But that's not the important thing. So here's what Wall Street knows. Here's what Ray Dalio knows. And here's what all the people in the know that most people do not. So I want to be the first to tell you. It's not the interest rates being raised that's really going to hurt it. It's a delicate balance, and it will stunt the growth of the market, but it's not going to send it down. Okay? What will is the second part. The Fed then said, we're going to unwind the balance sheet. So anybody in business understands what a balance sheet, assets and liabilities, we'll just keep it simple. To unwind the balance sheet, what the Fed will have to do is first stop buying as many IOUs, because they got to slow that down, which they're already going to do. By March, they're going to taper the bond purchases. But then they've said that they're going to start selling bonds into the open market. Do you ever remember the movie Spaceballs?
Of course.
I want everybody to try to just get a visual picture. In the movie Spaceballs, which was an epic movie, you all should watch it again, there was a part where the bad guys, Helmet, rolled up to a planet, which was clearly Earth, and their spaceship turned into a maid and put a vacuum cleaner on Earth, or the planet, to suck all the oxygen out. When the Fed starts selling bonds in the open markets, I want you to envision that that vacuum is the Fed. And I want you to envision all the trees and the air that they were sucking out is money. It is going to literally erase all the money they just printed by sucking it straight out of the markets. In doing that, that right there will begin the process of deleveraging. That right there will change the tide and everything will go down. Mark my words.